What is good, gamers? Today I have decided, I have made the executive choice, free will, to talk about the single greatest manga ever released to ever slap the world. And that is GTO, or Great Teacher Onizuka. Speaking of Onizuka, that's the main character of the book. Eikichi Onizuka is his name. He is an ex-biker gang member, and he decided to become a high school teacher. So, of course, he spends the first few chapters acquiring his teaching license, you know, forging documents, running from the cops because, he was speeding, reckless driving, all that boring teachery stuff that, no one wants to read about. That's why they only made it like 2 chapters long. So, um, first of all, I really thoroughly enjoy this book, and I want to, just highlight some of the funniest parts. And I do recommend it to everybody, unless you are sensitive about mature content, like smoking, for example. They smoke a lot, and, if you're like, oh, cigarettes, then maybe it's not for you. I don't know if you were a previous smoker and you might relapse because, oh, they're smoking in a manga. But yeah, so after he gets his teaching license, he has to do this teacher in training thing where he trains to be a teacher at the high school that he wants to work at. And since he's doing teacher in training, he, has to be a teacher. Duh. And one kid she's this kid. She's having problems at home. So what does the great teacher Onizuka, GTO, the greatest teacher ever, how does he handle this situation? Well, he shows up to her house with a sledgehammer, breaks down a wall, and then leaves. And you know what? They don't call the cops. You know why? Because he fixed their marriage by busting down a wall. So, other stuff obviously happens from then until the next highlight. But this highlight is the pivotal point in his teaching career. It's when he gets his first teaching job at the high school that he wants to teach at. So, how does he get this teaching job? Well, they don't really like him in the interview. However, that is until he German suplexed the vice principal in front of the entire school, including the principal herself. And her reaction to it was, hey, you remind me of my husband. We need more teachers like you. So he has his teaching license. He's done his training. He has his job. What's next? Well, he starts teaching. He gets the class that hates teachers. They burned through 3 teachers the year prior. One of them decided to go off the grid and they're just gone. No one knows what happened. The second one jumped off a bridge and tried to drown herself. She is still in the hospital recovering. And the third chose that, or said that it would be better to turn to an alien worshipping cult than teach those children. So that's exactly what happened. And she is still in the cult to this day. So, what do they do? How do they try to get Onizuka? Well, they get one of the students to go over to his apartment and try to frame him as a pedophile. Yeah, it doesn't really work, but it happened. After that, they attempt to take him bowling. So these 3 right here, they take him bowling with the blonde dude's mom. The blonde dude is Kunio. You don't need to know the other two's names because I don't know their names. So, um, Onizuka is hitting on Kunio's mom the entire time. So they don't really like each other. So naturally, they get teamed up together. they do a little bowling, they have a little banter, it's fun. Until Onizuka gets his fingers super glued into some bowling balls. Then they dress him up as a cat. After that, the three kids walk outside, they bump into a street thug, and given the situation, Kunio makes the executive decision to kick him in the balls and run in the opposite direction. Does it work? No, it does not work. Because, they're street thugs and they manage to grab one of the slower moving, non essential main characters. So they get them all, they put them in sleeping bags hanging up upside down on a tree, and they're gonna use them as punching bags. But Onizuka is there. He's their white knight, their saving grace, their teacher. He tells them that that's boring and that they should have them bungee jump off the side of a bridge with a hemp rope. So, they're like, dude, that's sick. The street thugs, of course, not the kids. The kids, they don't really like the idea too much, if I'm gonna be honest. Right now, they're not really feeling the Onizuka lifestyle. Except for, of course, Kunio, who is like, you know what? Onizuka, fine, fine, I'll do it. However, you better not flirt with my mom ever again. And then he jumps. Now, Onizuka is like, yeah, okay, kid, you learned your lesson. I don't know what the lesson was, but apparently he learned it. And Onizuka then breaks both of the bowling balls that were on his hands and throws all the street thugs into the river. Now, is that where the shenanigans end? No, there's 256 chapters and we've barely scraped chapter 16. So the kids at this point, other stuff has happened, of course, but the kids at this point, they're like, you know what? We got to bring out the big guns. We have to bring out the classroom terrorist, which is the canonical name for this child. She is a legitimate domestic terrorist who on a consistent basis makes homemade explosives and uses them in the school quite frequently. The only reason that they don't kick her out is because her test scores boost the school's numbers by so much that she's basically invincible to the entire school and administration. So she, goes into the class and she brings a king cobra. What does the king cobra do? Well, of course, as any other snake would do, goes up to Onizuka and bites him in the testicles. Now, of course, being a dude, he has to retaliate somehow, and he does this by dressing up as a biker gang member with his ex biker gang member friends, and they kidnap the girl that did it, and, they take her out on a little extracurricular activity which involves expanding her butthole. And they do this by strapping her to the front of a motorcycle and driving it off of an unfinished bridge. Now, this is not the first time that he's actually endangered this student's life. He previously accidentally, mind you, booty bumped her off of the side of a building and then took her to the vet and then buried her in the mountains, or tried to. She then trolled him by pretending to be a zombie and spook him. But yeah, so those are some of the highlights from the earlier chapters. Again, I highly suggest it. Mature content warning. Oh no, smoking bad. But yeah.